Chapter 661. They must be sick. Lu Xiaoyu suppressed the urge to retort and whispered into Yiqing Luo's ear. If they have the ability, why don't they do it themselves? On one hand, they pinned their hopes on you, on the other hand, they call you trash. They are really contradictory. Well, they definitely didn't take their medicine and were released. Yiqing Luo nodded in agreement. Let me try. Suddenly, a cold and calm voice came from the freshman. Immediately, a slender, handsome young man walked out. The young man looked indifferent and his attitude was neither servile nor overbearing. When he stood in front of Instructor Ho, he bowed his head slightly to show his respect. Qi Jing from High Profound Class 1. Male God Qi. Male God Qi. The freshmen were excited. In this batch of freshmen, there were only 2 students who entered the High Profound class. Qi Jing was one of them. They were also the 2 most powerful people in this batch of students. When the freshmen were cheering, they did not forget to glance at Yiqing Luo proudly. Oh, they still had Qi Jing. They didn't care about her at all. Yiqing Luo, who received this look, twitched her mouth again and was speechless. Challenger, Qi Jing. As soon as Instructor Ho's voice fell, the entire training ground fell into silence. All the freshmen held their breath and watched the battle nervously. If even Qi Jing couldn't withstand 5 moves, there was no hope for them at all. Qi Jing's expression became dignified and vigilantly laid out an offensive stance. Just as he was about to launch an attack, Instructor Ho raised his hand and made a pause gesture. Wait a minute. Immediately, Instructor Ho turned around and walked to Instructor Chu's side. For the next few rounds, Instructor Chu will accept your challenges. Qi Jing's face changed slightly as he frowned at Instructor Ho. After Instructor Ho glanced at him, he looked away casually. It seemed, changing the instructor to accept the challenge was just a whim. Qi Jing clenched his fists, took a deep breath and nodded in resignation. Yes. Instructor Chu, I'm sorry. With a greeting, Qi Jing quickly made his move. He didn't use his full strength, it was all to test Instructor Chu. His reflexes were also extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, the 2 of them had already exchanged more than 10 moves. The freshmen widened their eyes in shock. There was actually a freshman who could withstand so many moves from the instructor and still wasn't done. Moreover, it was obvious that Qi Jing did not use his full strength. Qi Jing had hopes of defeating the instructor. The freshmen's hearts were in their throats as they stared at Qi Jing nervously. Shangguan Liuli's eyes sparkled as she stared complacently at Yiqing Luo. But she realized that Yiqing Luo didn't even look at her. Yiqing Luo stared intently at the 2 of them, hooked her arm around Lu Xiaoyu's shoulder and smiled. Qi Jing is very smart. Instructor Ho is very black-bellied. Huh? Lu Xiaoyu was confused. The reason why Qi Jing didn't challenge the instructor until now is to observe Instructor He's habits and strength. As the saying goes, know yourself and know your enemy, and you will win every battle. The fact that Qi Jing is on the stage means that he already has a way to defeat Instructor He, or he has concluded a way to restrain Instructor He. However, Instructor He is also an old fox. She could see Qi Jing's plan. Instructor Ho naturally saw it too. In the end, the instructor suggested that they take turns to challenge them, but it wasn't enough just to defeat them. But they wanted to sum up the strengths and weaknesses of the students in the sparring, so that the masters in their class could give strict guidance to one of them. Chapter 662. Qi Jing wanted to use the observation method to restrain Instructor Ho, but Instructor Ho didn't intend to let him try. Because of that, he deliberately let Instructor Chu, who hadn't been on the field, take over. Qi Jing's idea fell through. But Qi Jing was indeed a talent. Even if it was Instructor Chu, he would be able to readjust his steps in the shortest time possible. After testing Instructor Chu, he quickly calculated the most suitable way to deal with Instructor Chu. Yiqing Luo's heart, which wanted to dig out someone's heart, started to stir. Cough cough. It seemed that ever since the establishment of the World Mercenary Group, whenever she saw a talent, she would want to hook up with the World Group. Qi Jing is so powerful. Lu Xiaoyu nodded her head as she looked at the exchange of blows between Qi Jing and Instructor Chu with adoration. Their speed was extremely fast and their moves were getting sharper and sharper. Unknowingly, another 20 over blows had passed. As time went by, the other students also heard that today was the last day of freshman training and they all wanted to know what methods the instructors would come up with to end this season's freshman training. The entire training ground was gradually surrounded by layers and layers of people. Almost there. Yiqing Luo opened her eyes and said indifferently. What? Lu Xiaoyu looked up at her in puzzlement. Yiqing Luo smiled mysteriously. Just at this moment, the students outside the field exclaimed, "Male god Qi, be careful." Qi Jing, who was facing off, had the upper hand. The next second, Instructor Chu's figure moved swiftly and with a palm wind, he went up from Qi Jing's back. Just as Qi Jing was about to counter this palm wind, Instructor Chu's feet flashed and he flashed to the other side of Qi Jing and his fist landed on Qi Jing's abdomen. Qi Jing immediately cried out in pain as he clutched his abdomen and half knelt on the ground. Lost. Qi Jing lost. The clamor, which was still cheering for Qi Jing, gradually died down. They actually lost? Obviously. Qi Jing could have won. The freshmen at this moment were completely disheartened. They thought that Instructor Chu's ability was weaker and coincidentally it was Qi Jing's challenge. Seeing that Qi Jing had the upper hand after 30 over blows, they thought that they could win easily. But lost? Would they still have a chance to win? Jing. Dong Huanglang rushed over and helped Qi Jing up. Are you okay? I'm fine. Qi Jing covered his abdomen and stood up with the help of Dong Huanglang. He shook his head slowly and said, "You are indeed the instructor of the freshmen." "I am convinced." Instructor Chu gently patted the wrinkles on his clothes. His face was calm, as if the battle just now did not affect him at all. Hearing Qi Jing's words, he looked up and said, "Student Qi is a very talented student. If she is trained well, she will definitely become a great person." The students gasped and looked at Qi Jing enviously. This was the second person to be praised by the cold-faced instructor. Although Qi Jing had lost this battle. However, he was able to withstand more than 30 moves from Instructor Chu and was praised by Instructor Chu, so it was not considered a loss. Next. Instructor Chu raised his voice again. This time, it was Dong Huanglang's turn. He helped Qi Jing to Yiqing Luo's side, walked to the front of Instructor Chu and bowed slightly. As soon as he attacked, Dong Huanglang's momentum was very fast. Different from Qi Jing's step-by-step probing and pressing. He was completely the representative of, "Don't be afraid, fight directly." Such a strong attack had caught Instructor Chu off guard. This battle was also exciting and dangerous. Chapter 663. Qing Luo, how did you know that? Qi Jing would lose? Lu Xiaoyu finally understood what Yiqing Luo meant when she said, "almost done," earlier. He was referring to the fact that this battle was almost over. Lu Xiaoyu was very curious about how Yiqing Luo was able to analyze the psychological state of both parties so clearly as though she was a god. It was obvious that Qi Jing had the upper hand, but Yiqing Luo knew that he would lose. Qi Jing, who was staring at the battle between Dong Huanglang and Instructor Chu, also turned to look at them. Yiqing Luo held her chin and explained patiently. From the beginning, Instructor Chu was deliberately being modest. The reason why he let you challenge him is to understand your habits and strength. Once they understand clearly, they will end the battle quickly. Just like Qi Jing's match. Yiqing Luo met Qi Jing's gaze and said indifferently, "Instructor Chu has been fighting with you to see your potential. After getting the result, Instructor Chu will not waste any more time." It was not that Instructor Chu's ability was not good. It was Instructor Chu who used his own way to test Qi Jing's potential. Qi Jing nodded, indicating that he agreed with Yi Qing Luo's words. And at this time, Dong Huang Lang had also made more than 20 moves. At the last moment, he was knocked down to the ground and lost. The two freshmen who were allocated to the high profound class had lost. The last chance was gone. No, they still had a chance. Luli, should we say something soft and let Yi Qing Luo? A female student whispered. Yi Qing Luo's strength was very strong. At least from her recent performance, her strength was absolutely enough to be allocated to the high profound class. What soft words. Why are you looking for her? How can a waste be better than Qi Jing and Dong Huang Lang from the high profound class? Shangguan Luli shook off the female student's hand fiercely and berated her. But, no buts. Didn't you see that she has been evading, hiding, and not daring to come over? She is simply afraid, waiting for us to challenge the instructor and reap the benefits. Shangguan Luli did not hesitate to interrupt the female student's words. No matter how powerful Yi Qing Luo was, she was not as powerful as the instructor. What did she want from Yi Qing Luo? She doesn't dare, but I dare. I'll challenge you. Shangguan Liuli snorted coldly and walked to the center of the training ground. Looking at the increasing number of students around her, Shangguan Liuli clenched her fists. If she could withstand at least 10 moves, it wouldn't be too embarrassing. Fortunately, Instructor Chu was the one who accepted the challenge. Seeing that Dong Huang Lang and Qi Yijing could exchange 20 to 30 moves with Instructor Chu's strength was definitely not as good as the other instructors. Thinking of this, Shangguan Liuli felt more confident. Attack! Attack! However, Shangguan Liuli had just condensed her qi and was about to make a move, but she found that Instructor Chu's figure disappeared in the blink of an eye. Shangguan Liuli was stunned. She quickly released her perception to search for Instructor Chu. Suddenly, he felt pain in his back. It was over before it even started. In less than a single move. The crowd was in an uproar. This was probably the worst challenge of the day. Those who had challenged previously and were assigned to the low profound class, the weakest among them had at least passed 2 moves. The other freshmen looked at Shangguan Liuli as if they were looking at an idiot. It was so silly that it made people laugh. The other freshmen were not nervous or afraid at this time. Anyway, with the 5th miss of the Shangguan family at the bottom, what was there for them to be afraid of? Chapter 664. 5th Miss Shangguan. One of the 4 great families, the 5th miss of the Shangguan family. It was not because they were weak, but because the instructor was too strong. The rest of the freshmen thanked Shangguan Liuli from the bottom of their hearts for giving them the courage to challenge the instructor fearlessly. Immediately, one by one, the freshmen began to challenge the instructor. After exchanging a few blows with the instructor, the freshmen retreated in defeat. The freshmen who were slightly more capable and slightly more talented, at most 6 or 7 moves. Qi Yijing narrowed his eyes and squinted in the direction of Shangguan Liuli. Instructor Chu is avenging you. The meaning of teaching Shangguan Liuli a lesson was too obvious. These freshmen, for the instructor, did not need a single move to knock them down in minutes. But the instructor wanted to understand the combat experience of these freshmen, so he must exchange a few moves to test the opponent's reaction ability and attack posture. But, Instructor Chu directly knocked Shangguan Liuli down. He did not give Shangguan Liuli a chance to fight back at all. Yi Qing Luo raised her eyebrows slightly and smiled charmingly. She had already given Instructor Chu 32 likes in her heart. Well done. Under her gaze, you can still smile, your heart is really big. Qi Yijing shook his head helplessly. Dong Huang Lang nodded at the side. Yi Qing Luo looked over curiously. She saw Shangguan Liuli, who was pale and trembling all over, not willing to leave even under the mocking gazes of the crowd, was now glaring at her with hatred in her eyes. Staring at her? Was there something wrong with her? She was not the one who instigated Instructor Chu. Damn, she was being implicated again. The 2 instructors took turns and after a while, except for Yi Qing Luo, all the freshmen had finished their challenges. Without a doubt, all of them failed. Immediately, all the students' eyes were on Yiqing Luo. Waste of waste class. Now you are the only one left, still want to be a coward? Shangguan Liuli shouted angrily. She stayed here under the ridiculing eyes of the crowd, just to see Yiqing Luo become a laughing stock. Yiqing Luo seems to be a yellow profound 9th grade cultivator. So low profound grade. I thought she was at least in the mystic profound realm. She seems to be very powerful. Even the vice president and Lu Shuelon suffered a loss in her hands. What's so great about it? If she was really powerful, she wouldn't have been assigned to the trash class. Moreover, I heard that she was attacked by an assassin in the academy some time ago. She fainted on the spot. Fainted from shock. TSK, no wonder he was assigned to the trash class. The surrounding students kept on pointing and gossiping about Yiqing Luo. Listening to the comments of the crowd, under her intentional or unintentional guidance, they all started to mock them. Shangguan Liuli raised her head proudly, a cold smile appearing on her face. The last one, Yiqing Luo. Instructor Chu stood in the middle of the training ground, staring straight at Yiqing Luo. Actually, in this round of assessment, they were most interested in Yiqing Luo. This freshman was neither arrogant nor rash, neither servile nor overbearing. No matter what it was, as long as it was right, she would complete the task without hesitation. Not only did he complete the mission, but he also did it very well. Even they, as instructors, might not be able to complete the training, but she could still grit her teeth and complete it. No matter how bitter or tired he would never show it on his face. Moreover, there was something contagious about her. He could infect the people around him and cause them to change unknowingly. If they were to fight, what kind of surprise would this new student bring them? Chapter 665. Under everyone's attention, Yiqing Luo calmly passed through the crowd and walked to the center of the training ground. Her steps were light and her breathing was steady. There was no trace of apprehension or fear at all. That kind of indifference, that kind of calmness. Shangguan Liuli clenched her fists tightly. Her round nails had already scratched her arm, but she didn't care, as if she was possessed, staring at Yiqing Luo with hatred. She hated everyone in the Yi family. Yiqing Qian, a broken flower with a bad reputation, had snatched away her beloved man. Yiqing Luo, just a waste who was despised by others, dared to make her lose face again and again, causing her status in the Shangguan family to plummet. At this time, everyone's attention was on the center of the training ground. Even Yiqing Luo didn't notice that behind the crowd, there was a wisp of black gas that was hard to be identified by the naked eye, like threads, intertwining with each other, forming a treacherous and incomprehensible totem. In a split second, it blended into the air and disappeared. Student Yiqing Luo, are you ready? Instructor Chu's eyes lit up with fighting spirit, his muscles tightened, ready to go. Yiqing Luo fearlessly looked into Instructor Chu's eyes and calmly hooked her lips, in order to avoid some people saying that my challenge is unfair. After all, Instructor Chu and Instructor Ho must be tired from fighting with hundreds of freshmen. She was implying something. All the students looked straight at Shangguan Liuli. They knew that some people, in Yiqing Luo's words, referred to Shangguan Liuli. Shangguan Liuli bit her lower lip, clutched her arm tightly and endured the anger and resentment in her heart. Immediately, they heard Yiqing Luo's sweet and calm voice. How about this, Instructor Ho and Instructor Chu, both of you come together. Silence, silence, and more silence. What followed was a gasp of cold air and an incredulous gasp. Was there something wrong with this freshman? Wasn't she too arrogant? You're too arrogant for your own good. This kind of arrogance could no longer be called self-confidence, but called stupidity. One instructor had already made hundreds of freshmen helpless. The only one who could withstand at most 30 moves from the instructor was Qi Yijing from the High Profound Class 1. No matter how strong Yiqing Luo was, she was merely a yellow profound 9th grade cultivator. It was impossible for him to be stronger than Qi Yijing and better than the instructor, right? Yiqing Luo, stop pretending to be a genius. You are a piece of trash. 2 instructors at the same time. Who do you think you are? Do you have this qualification? Shangguan Liuli instantly found an outlet to vent as she pointed at Yiqing Luo and started scolding her. Her eyes were filled with hatred, and her facial features gradually became distorted. I know, she laughed and looked at the 2 instructors, Instructor Chu, Instructor He. Don't be fooled by her. She did it on purpose. He was right. Yiqing Luo absolutely did it on purpose. Yiqing Luo didn't want to embarrass herself or become a laughing stock, so she deliberately provoked the 2 instructors. As long as the 2 instructors struck at the same time, even if Yiqing Luo lost, it would be a matter of course. Even if he lost, it was not shameful. Trash will always be trash, only knowing how to play tricks. Instructor Chu frowned and looked at Shangguan Liuli coldly. Student Shangguan, if you don't want to watch the challenge, leave the training ground now. The other students scratched their ears that were buzzing from the roar and nodded in agreement. They were here to watch the freshmen's assessment on the last day. To watch the challenge between the freshmen and the instructors. They were not here to listen to Shangguan Liuli's scolding. Chapter 666. Shangguan Liuli was frightened by the instructor's gaze and bit her lower lip, not daring to speak again. Hearing that the training ground had finally quietened down, Instructor Chu turned his head and looked at Yiqing Luo. Student Yiqing Luo, according to the rules of the student challenging the instructor, due to the disparity in strength between the 2 parties, no matter what request the student makes other than asking the instructor to go easy, the instructor will comply unconditionally. Everyone was stunned. Those freshmen who had challenged and were beaten to the ground immediately climbed up from the ground. They could raise conditions. In other words, if they wanted to use weapons, it was also possible. However, during the challenge, none of them made any requests. If they had weapons, against the empty-handed instructor, they would definitely be able to exchange a few more moves with the instructor and strive for a good result. The freshmen's hearts were filled with annoyance. Instructor Chu fixed his gaze on Yiqing Luo's eyes, as if trying to discern from her eyes whether what she said was true or just like what Shangguan Liuli said. It was just a pretense of challenging the 2 instructors to avoid a shameful ending. Yiqing Luo's expression was calm, her eyes were also calm. Instructor Chu looked at her for a long time and didn't see any hint of a joke. He turned his head and glanced at Instructor Ho from the corner of his eyes. Instructor Ho crossed his arms in front of his chest, his always indifferent eyes flashed with an interesting smile. She nodded her head in a very small manner. Student Yiqing Luo, that means, we have to accept the conditions you proposed. Instructor Chu confirmed again. Yiqing Luo's lips curved, her bright eyes shone with a flowing light. Her voice was sonorous and forceful, and the seriousness in her tone could be heard. I just want to test how much potential I have. Instructor Chu nodded. Well, since it is a request from student Yiqing Luo, Instructor Ho and I will meet your request. But, before that, you must first let me see if you have enough strength for Instructor Ho to take action. As soon as he finished his words, Instructor Chu had already made his move, waving his fist and pouncing towards Yiqing Luo. This punch held back some strength. It was purely a test. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes, flipped her palms and wrapped her hands around the oncoming fist. He secretly used a skillful force to push the fist back. At the same time, Yiqing Luo's feet moved, her figure was like a ghost, quickly entangled behind Instructor Chu. With lightning speed, he grabbed Instructor Chu's neck. Instructor Chu's reaction was also extremely fast. Just as Yiqing Luo's wrist hooked around his neck, his large palm grabbed her slender arm. A woman's strength was naturally inferior to a man's. After Instructor Chu grabbed her arm tightly, he quickly bent down and pulled hard, directly flipping Yiqing Luo's delicate body from his back onto the ground. The surrounding students were shocked and looked at this scene in disbelief. In the blink of an eye, they were entangled together and had already exchanged several blows. Finally, when they saw Instructor Chu lifting up Yiqing Luo's delicate body, without the slightest bit of tenderness towards the fairer sex, their heartbeats accelerated and their hearts tightened nervously. Even the other students from the intermediate and high profound classes had never seen such an intense battle. In the time it takes for a spark to fly off a flint, the two of them went back and forth. No one released their chi. What he relied on was his own skills. The moment Yi Qing Luo was lifted up, the expression on her face turned extremely grave. She had indeed seen everything too simply. She didn't expect Instructor Chu to look so burly and tall, but his body was so nimble. Chapter 667. Yi Qing Luo restrained the shock in her eyes and immediately reacted. Her body spun from Instructor Chu's back, and when she was in midair, her other hand slapped hard on Instructor Chu's back. Immediately after that, her foot stepped on Instructor Chu's back. The strength of this slap and kick was absolutely not small. Instructor Chu's face changed and he frowned in pain. This stunned him and gave Yi Qing Luo a chance. Her petite body was like a butterfly as she leaped up gracefully. Her palms turned into eagle claws and went straight for Instructor Chu's back. After being kicked and slapped, Instructor Chu's reaction was still extremely fast. He did a back somersault and raised his fist to meet Yi Qing Luo's claw-like hands. Bam! When the fist and the eagle claws met, there was a loud explosion. It seemed that the entire training ground was shaking. Everyone knew that this was their illusion. These two people did not display their profound chi. It was impossible to cause such a big sensation. It was just that, this kind of battle had deeply shaken their hearts. Actually, evenly matched. No one gained any advantage and no one was in a disadvantageous position. Instructor Chu was obviously more serious than when he accepted the challenge from the other hundreds of freshmen. Had Instructor Chu not used his full strength? Right. He must not have used his full strength. Otherwise, just based on Yi Qing Luo alone, how could she exchange so many blows with Instructor Chu, and each blow was extremely fierce. It was completely like a real battle, the kind of battle that would not end until one party died. They subconsciously covered their hearts and a sense of nervousness filled their hearts. Instructor Chu's heart was also full of surprise at this time. From Yi Qing Luo's counterattack skills and the fastest speed, she made the most intuitive counterattack. It could be seen that she had rich combat experience. And her reaction speed was also fast. She could completely take down the opponent in the shortest time possible. What made him curious was that this girl's information clearly showed that she had been a waste for 15 years and had an enviable profound jade heart. However, she had a waste physique that could not cultivate profound chi. In these 15 years, she had lived an extremely miserable life. How could she have such rich combat experience? How did he become so powerful in such a short period of time? Even with the guidance of the Overlord, it was impossible to transform a piece of trash into such a powerful being in just 1 month. There was only one possibility. Right from the start, Yi Qing Luo had intentionally pretended that she was a waste. Actually, she was a genius from the very beginning. Otherwise, why would Three Springs sect let Yi Qing Luo become the young matriarch of Three Springs sect the minute she was born? Even if she had been ridiculed and insulted for the past 15 years, the position of young sect master was still hers. With this in mind, Instructor Chu's confusion was instantly answered. This Yi Qing Luo, he was indeed a talent. Instructor Chu, you can't be distracted when you're fighting. By the side of his ear, Yi Qing Luo's sweet voice suddenly rang, with a hint of a smile. Immediately, Instructor Chu felt a sharp pain in his chest. His tall and burly body was forced to take a few steps back by the force. Finally, it hit the wall with a heavy thud. Just listening to that voice made his heart ache. The students were shocked. Yi Qing Luo actually injured Instructor Chu. Did this mean that she had defeated Instructor Chu? That's impossible. Looking at the entire school, how many people could injure Instructor Chu in a one-on-one battle? Chapter 668. Little girl, your skills are not bad. Instructor Chu rubbed his chest that was hurting from the collision. His face revealed a kind of excited expression. The corners of his mouth curled up into a smile, causing his usually ice-cold face to reveal the demonic charm of a mature man. All the female students present felt their heartbeats quicken. Yiqing Luo withdrew her hand. Her face did not reveal any expression, but just smiled lightly. Instructor Chu was distracted, so I succeeded. Good. Again. Instructor Chu's voice just fell and he rushed towards Yiqing Luo. This time, Instructor Chu's attack was obviously much fiercer and more ruthless. His eyes were no longer probing and exploring, but a kind of excitement that had not floated for a long time, and the kind of excitement of wanting to fight to the death. Yiqing Luo naturally felt it. In the battle between the two, Instructor Chu's attacks became faster and more ruthless. Yiqing Luo felt that it was difficult at the beginning of Instructor Chu's transformation. She gritted her teeth and quickly made adjustments, and with the fastest speed, she adjusted her state and countered Instructor Chu's attack one by one. I must be dreaming. I can't believe what I see. How could Yiqing Luo and Instructor Chu exchange so many moves? And look at Instructor Chu's expression, his eyes. Instructor Chu is obviously serious. But he is serious. Yiqing Luo can still fight to a draw with Instructor Chu. The surrounding students were amazed. At this time, how could these students not see it? The instructor had only used 1/10 of his strength when he fought against hundreds of freshmen. Now the instructor's eyes were sharp, his expression was dignified, and his face was solemn. The stronger students had already seen that although the instructor's battle with Yiqing Luo was not as long as his battle with Qi Yijing, but in a flash, the two had exchanged several moves. At this time, back and forth, they had exchanged hundreds of moves. Instructor Ho narrowed his eyes, carefully sizing up Yiqing Luo's every move. His eyes were full of satisfaction. This freshman was really powerful. No wonder she dared to ask him to fight with Instructor Chu together. She was indeed a freshman with strength and ample combat experience. He and Old Chu had been partners for many years. He knew better than anyone about the changes in Old Chu. This new student aroused Old Chu's fighting spirit. Old Chu's ruthlessness surprised him, but he did not go forward to stop it. Actually, in his heart, he also wanted to properly explore just how great this new student's potential was. What made Instructor Ho shocked and gratified was, Old Chu became increasingly ferocious. After being at a disadvantage for 10 moves, the freshman quickly adjusted his fighting style and counterattacked. It was like a spring. When encountering the weak, one would be weak. When encountering the strong, one would be strong. The more pressure Old Chu gave her, the faster Yiqing Luo's ability and hands improved. Simply, he was a freak. Instructor Ho's eyes flashed. Just as Instructor Chu and Yiqing Luo separated from each other again, his footsteps moved slightly and he was already behind Yiqing Luo, launching an attack. Instructor He, the students sucked in a breath of cold air. They did not expect Instructor He to join the battle at a time like this. Could it be that he was really planning to fight 1 against 2? Although this was Yiqing Luo's own request, but seeing that Yiqing Luo had a chance to win, Instructor He joined the battle. It was really unfair to Yiqing Luo. Instructor Ho's sudden participation and Yiqing Luo was still fighting against Instructor Chu. How could she react? Chapter 669. Yiqing Luo had just regained her footing when she felt a chill on her back. Her ears were filled with the students' panicked cries. Instructor Ho? Yiqing Luo knew that the person behind her was Instructor Ho. She didn't look back and it was too late. Just as Instructor Ho was about to attack, Yiqing Luo's body used an extremely strange posture and deftly avoided Instructor Ho's sneak attack. With a leap, she retreated 10 steps away from the two instructors. Yiqing Luo panted heavily and wiped the sweat on her forehead. Instructor Ho, it's a little hard for you to do this. Instructor Ho walked slowly to Instructor Chu and both of them looked at Yiqing Luo. Student Yiqing Luo, this is your request. She was indeed the one who suggested it. But she didn't say that she would accept a sneak attack. The cold sweat on Yiqing Luo's back had seeped into her uniform. She opened her mouth and exhaled heavily. Fortunately, her perceptive ability was higher than that of an ordinary person. The moment she sensed the danger, her body instinctively moved and quickly avoided Instructor Ho's sneak attack. Otherwise, If Instructor Ho's attack really fell on her, this challenge could be declared over. Student Yiqing Luo, let's see how long you can last this time. Instructor Ho's eyes flashed a meaningful smile. He and Instructor Chu looked at each other, one on the left and one on the right. They bounced up and directly rushed towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Yiqing Luo's expression was calm, without the slightest fear. She mustered up all her energy and began to deal with the two instructors. The two instructors were old partners and had a tacit understanding with each other. And as instructors, their own abilities were extremely powerful. Yiqing Luo's chances of winning against the two of them at the same time was not high. Of course, if the instructors used their profound qi, Yiqing Luo wouldn't have any chance at all. The instructors probably knew this too, so both of them used their own abilities and skills to attack Yiqing Luo. In the blink of an eye, Yiqing Luo had exchanged a few blows with the two instructors. Yiqing Luo gradually became strained under the two's attacks. The two instructors didn't show any mercy, they used their most agile skills and strongest physique. Especially the two of them, one attacking and one defending, had a tacit understanding with each other. Yiqing Luo couldn't find any chance to attack. Back and forth, Yiqing Luo could only barely defend herself from being defeated by the two instructors without any chance to counterattack. But Yiqing Luo didn't give up. This was also the reason why she asked the two instructors to go together. It wasn't because she thought that she was strong and impressive that she was intentionally provoking the instructor. Instead, everyone's potential was unleashed under pressure and coercion. Now that she had jumped 4 levels in a row and became a profound practitioner at the 8th level of the mystic profound realm, even if she did not use profound energy, her overall strength would still increase. She challenged the two instructors because she wanted to see how much she had improved after her promotion. Just like now, under the immense pressure of the two instructors, she was able to quickly dodge the instructor's attack. Her brain was also working quickly, analyzing the instructor's attack and then counterattacking. This was very effective in increasing his combat experience. After exchanging more than 10 strokes, Yiqing Luo had already been pushed to the edge of the training ground. The students spontaneously opened up a path and watched this thrilling duel. All the students, no matter how much they hated Yiqing Luo previously, at this moment, they all started to worship her. The idea of the strong being respected was deeply rooted in their minds. Chapter 670. It was one thing to hate Yiqing Luo's character. But it was another thing to worship Yiqing Luo's strength. Yiqing Luo's back was pressed against the cold wall. She panted heavily, and sweat trickled down her forehead. Her hair, which was wet with sweat, clung to her face. By this time, she had exhausted all her energy. A woman's physical strength was not as good as a man's. Even the two instructors were panting and sweating profusely, not to mention Yiqing Luo. The two instructors were closing in on her. Yiqing Luo's slender body against the wall slowly tensed up. Her slender fingers curled up one by one and clenched into fists. She stared at the two instructors vigilantly, and when they were 2 steps away from her, she took a deep breath and curled her fingers into a claw shape and pinched Instructor Ho's shoulder. Enough. The two instructors stopped. Yiqing Luo's hand paused in mid-air for a while and slowly retracted. Her body, which was leaning against the wall, couldn't hold on any longer and fell softly to the ground. She looked up with sweat dripping down her face. Student Yiqing Luo's performance is extremely outstanding, it seems. Student Yiqing Luo is very good at practical combat. Instructor Chu was panting as he spoke. It could be seen that Instructor Chu was also exhausted by Yiqing Luo. The students covered their mouths and looked at them in astonishment. What kind of ending was this? Who won? Could it be a draw? When this thought flashed through their minds, the students shook their heads and felt that it was impossible. How could Yiqing Luo tie with the two instructors at the same time? You must be joking. What's more, Yiqing Luo was forced to lean against the wall and had no room to fight back. As long as the instructors moved their fingers slightly, Yiqing Luo would definitely lose. Why did the instructors stop? The students were puzzled. Student Yi Qing Luo, in view of your excellent performance this time, Instructor Chu and I will apply to the director to let you enter the class of gods. Instructor Ho raised his hand and wiped the sweat off his face. Class of gods. His words stirred up waves. The students suddenly exploded. It was fine if it was the high profound class. Instructor Ho actually said. To let Yi Qing Luo enter the class of gods. This news made those students who originally worshipped Yi Qing Luo instantly turn from fans to haters. How could they feel the balance in their hearts? How could they be willing? No matter how valiant Yi Qing Luo's skills were, it couldn't change the fact that she was merely a yellow profound 9th grade cultivator. The Academy's wooden identity token was absolutely unable to conceal any personal information. Although there were less than 20 students in the class of gods, every single one of them was a super genius among geniuses. Even the lowest profound rank was at the earth profound 4th grade. Not only were there profound heart jades of the highest quality, even cultivating profound energy was a piece of cake for them. The class of gods was a legend in the Academy. It was a legend in the Academy. If it was the high profound class, then forget it. What right did Yi Qing Luo have to enter the class of gods? Yi Qing Luo was also shocked by Instructor Ho's words. Apply to enter the class of gods? Did the instructors discover her actual profound rank? That's not right, even if they found out her actual profound rank. It was only mystic profound 8th grade, not enough to enter the class of gods. Cough. Instructor Ho, thank you for your kind intentions, but this is not necessary. Yi Qing Luo had no intention to leave her brothers and sisters in the devil class. Compared to the class of gods, she felt that the students in the devil class were more talented. You're not willing to enter the class of gods? Instructor Chu frowned slightly, although you once said that as long as you are willing to work hard, nothing can stop your growth, but the reason why the class of gods became a legend is because of its own reason. Chapter 671. The two instructors continued to lobby. Obviously they had made up their minds to get Yi Qing Luo into the god class. The surrounding students were filled with envy. Yi Qing Luo was indeed the freshman that the instructor liked. Two instructors, especially the Academy's most impartial, cold and emotionless instructors, jointly wanted to send Yi Qing Luo into the class of gods. What kind of honor was this? Even if Yi Qing Luo wasn't able to enter the class of gods, her ability was recognized by these two stern-faced instructors. In the eyes of many students, he was an expert. Just as the students were envious, the two instructors were eagerly lobbying, and Yi Qing Luo shook her head in rejection, this extremely peaceful atmosphere. Suddenly, a sharp shout resounded through the entire training ground. It's not fair. This is unfair. The steely green-faced Shangguan Liuli's face twisted malevolently, as he stared at Yi Qing Luo with a venomous gaze. She wanted to see Yi Qing Luo become a joke. She wanted to see the scene of Yi Qing Luo failing in her pretentious act and instead being taught a terrible lesson by the instructors. In the end, how did Yi Qing become the strongest in the students' hearts? He's just a piece of trash. Why should he be worshipped by these students? Were they all blind? At this very moment, Shangguan Liuli's heart was completely blinded by her hatred and resentment towards Yi Qing Luo. No matter what Yi Qing Luo did, in her eyes, there was an ulterior motive. Shangguan Liuli raised her hand and pointed directly at the two instructors. It's you guys. You guys intentionally went easy on her, intentionally helping Yi Qing Luo, just to see me make a fool out of myself. You and that slut Yi Qing Luo are in cahoots. Her hysteria caused the surrounding students to frown, their faces filled with disgust. This Shangguan Liuli was really pestering Yi Qing Luo till death. She couldn't bear to see others doing better than her. Many people began to doubt the way the Shangguan clan taught their children. How did they raise such a brainless fifth miss? Be it the freshmen or the seniors, who in the academy didn't know that these two instructors were famous for being impartial? Who didn't know that they didn't give face to anyone? Purposely going easy? That battle just now wasn't a private challenge. It was an open and above-board battle with so many pairs of eyes. Couldn't they tell if the instructor had done his best? Does that look like he's going easy on me? Intentionally colluding with Yiqing Luo to see her make a fool of herself? Hee. Who did she think she was? If the instructor wanted to see her, Shangguan Liuli, make a fool of herself, he could do it with just one sentence. Why did he have to go through so much trouble to gather the other students to see her make a fool of herself? He thought too highly of himself. Shangguan Liuli, get out of here. Instructor Ho couldn't take it anymore and shouted with a gloomy face. Shangguan Liuli pursed her pale lips and clenched her fists. Her eyes were already stained with tears. Instructor He. This is favoritism. If I report this to the dean, you and Instructor Chu will not be able to live in peace. Are you threatening us? Instructor Chu narrowed his eyes and slowly walked towards Shangguan Liuli. Shangguan Liuli's body trembled, and she took a few steps back in fear. But when he thought about how he was an official student of the academy from today onwards, he no longer had to deal with the instructor of the freshman training. What was there to be afraid of? Thinking of this, Shangguan Liuli took a deep breath. I'm not threatening you. I'm just trying to reason with you. Reason? Yiqing Luo chuckled and caught a glimpse of a figure in the crowd from the corner of her eyes. Her long and narrow eyes hooked into a cold arc of ridicule. She took light steps, past the instructor and walked to the front of Shangguan Liuli. Every step Yiqing Luo took. Shangguan Liuli took a step back. Chapter 672. This was a kind of. It was an oppressive feeling that no one could hide from. Shangguan Liuli didn't want to admit that she was afraid of Yiqing Luo. But when she saw Yiqing Luo approaching her without saying a word, her heart became more flustered and confused. The truth that student Shangguan mentioned, is it the truth taught by the Shangguan family, or is it the truth that student Shangguan has an outstanding innate talent and had an epiphany? Yiqing Luo smiled elegantly. Shangguan Liuli was slightly stunned, not understanding the meaning of Yiqing Luo's words. In the blink of an eye, Yiqing Luo was already standing in front of her. 5 steps away. Everything needs evidence. Student Shangguan thinks that Instructor Ho and Instructor Chu went easy on me and wanted to see you make a fool of yourself. Please show me the evidence first. Yiqing Luo's voice became colder. If you can't show me the evidence. Her voice paused. Her slender brows raised slightly and looked at Shangguan Liuli with a faint smile. Student Shangguan, I can also complain to the faculty council, to the dean. Shangguan Liuli snorted coldly. Complain? What can you complain about? Anyone with discerning eyes could tell that Yiqing Luo and the instructors were in cahoots. There was no need for any evidence at all. Yiqing Luo smiled and immediately raised her finger. First, as a student, you don't know how to respect your teacher. Second, you made irresponsible remarks, slandered the instructors, slandered the students. Just based on these points, according to the school rules, it is not as simple as recording a major demerit. You. Shangguan Liuli's eyes widened. You're talking nonsense. Whether I am talking nonsense or not, the instructors will testify, the students present will also testify. Yiqing Luo's slender fingers raised slightly, touched her pink lips and smiled enchantingly. You. Shangguan Liuli quickly turned her head and looked at the group of students. The students looked at her with eyes full of mockery, disdain, and annoyance. She then realized that from the beginning to the end, she was the only one who felt that there was a problem between the instructors and Yiqing Luo. These students had treated her as a fool. Student Shangguan, let me reiterate for the last time, this is not the Shangguan residence, nor is it a place for a rich missy like you to throw a tantrum. If you can't get used to the life here, then leave the Heavenly Academy as soon as possible. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as she looked at Shangguan Liuli expressionlessly. Opportunities are always given to those who are willing to improve and work hard. If you don't need this opportunity, then give it to others who need it. With that, the corners of her mouth curled into a mocking smile, and she turned to leave. That mocking sneer pierced Shangguan Liuli's eyes. She was the 5th daughter of the Shangguan family. She was the favored 5th miss of the Shangguan family. He had never suffered any grievances. After arriving at the Heavenly Academy, on the first day, Yiqing Luo had been targeting her, causing her to suffer all sorts of grievances. Now, he still dared to laugh at her in front of so many people? Shangguan Liuli's chest was filled with a ball of anger that was constantly surging up. Looking at Yiqing Luo's departing figure, her eyes were filled with fury as she condensed profound qi into her palms and struck towards Yiqing Luo's back. Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed, as the sneer on her lips grew thicker, even her body was emitting bursts of chilliness. The surrounding people screamed out, as they kept reminding her. She didn't dodge, as she minded her own business and walked on. Shangguan Liuli's attack instantly closed in on Yiqing Luo's back. A palm strike landed. Bam! Ah! Two loud sounds were heard, only to see a petite figure flying up into the sky, as it crashed heavily onto the ground. A mouthful of blood spurted out from the young lady's mouth. Chapter 673. Instructor Chu, Instructor He, please forgive me. This student's younger sister has been spoiled rotten at home. Her temper is out of control. She has disturbed the two instructors. I apologize to you on behalf of Liuli. This man was none other than the third young master of the Shangguan family, Shangguan Fangyi. Today was the last day of the freshman training. As a senior, Shangguan Fangyi naturally understood what this last day represented. He was instructed by the Shangguan family's patriarch to wake up early and rush to the training ground. His original plan was to discuss the issue of Shangguan Liuli's aptitude with the instructors after her performance on the last day of training, to increase her impression in the eyes of the instructors. After all, they were the Shangguan family. After all, Shangguan Fangyi was a senior in the high profound class. But what he didn't expect was, his sister had been embarrassed to such an extent. He didn't even have the courage to stand up and admit that she was his sister. Not only did she become the worst freshman in the hands of the instructors, she even reprimanded Yiqing Luo for colluding with the instructors after the battle. Shangguan Fangyi had always known that this sister of his was a spoiled little princess. But he had never thought that this spoiled little princess completely did not bring her brain with her. During the holidays, he repeatedly reminded Shangguan Liuli that the most important thing in the Heavenly Academy was to respect the teachers, and no matter what dissatisfaction she had with any masters, she must not show it. Go home and tell her father that they had their own way to avenge her. However, Shangguan Liuli didn't put his words to heart at all. On the last day of training, she had already poked such a big hole. If it wasn't to prevent Shangguan Liuli from making a bigger mistake in affecting the Shangguan family, he would absolutely not stand up and let Shangguan Liuli run her own course. If he didn't let Shangguan Liuli suffer a little, she wouldn't know the dangers outside the family. Towards Shangguan Fangyi's apology, the two instructors still had a gloomy face and didn't say a word. Without the instructors' approval, Shangguan Fangyi could only maintain his bowing posture and wait for the instructors to speak. This was a form of respect to the instructors. One bowed while the other two remained silent. The other students naturally didn't dare to make any sound. The atmosphere of the entire training ground was frozen. Student Shangguan. Seeing that no one spoke, Yiqing Luo opened her mouth to break the deadlock. This stalemate would only be a waste of time. The instructor didn't say a word, so Shangguan Fangyi could only bow his body and look sideways at Yiqing Luo. From student Shangguan's words, student Shangguan's logic must be taught by the Shangguan family. Yiqing Luo shifted the topic to the Shangguan family. The children of the big families were outside. If it was a good thing, he would naturally want to bring his family along so that he could bring glory to his family. But if it would affect their clan and bring shame to their clan, no one would be willing to involve their own clan. Just like now. No matter what, Shangguan Fangyi did not want to have anything to do with the Shangguan family. But Yiqing Luo apparently had no intention to let them off. I'm sure all the freshmen here are very clear that the Heavenly Academy is the best academy in the Nirvana realm and was chosen as the best academy. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a calm and indifferent smile as she first praised the Heavenly Academy before continuing. This is not only because our Academy's students have become the top experts of the Nirvana realm under the guidance of the Academy, and have made great contributions to the Nirvana realm. It is also because of the good atmosphere of our Academy. Chapter 674. The surrounding students nodded in agreement. The other freshmen also nodded in agreement. They had just entered the school on the first day and had already heard of the most important rule: respect for the teachers. Because at least 2/3 of the students who entered the Heavenly Academy were either wealthy or respectable. Among these 2/3, another half of the students were highly talented and capable. These students had always been proud and arrogant, and there were quite a number of bad-tempered students. In order to prevent them from laying their hands on the teachers or disregarding the dignity of the elders, this rule was to forcefully brainwash all the students on the first day. It's impossible that Shangguan Liuli doesn't know this rule. Yiqing Luo said lightly, but Shangguan Liuli reprimanded the instructor in front of everyone for being lenient, reprimanded the instructor for collaborating with me, a freshman, just to make things difficult for her. Can I assume that Shangguan Liuli would have such thoughts and be arrogant and rude to the instructor, is related to the teachings of the Shangguan family? The moment these words were heard, the surrounding students immediately drew in a breath of cold air. Shangguan Fangyi's face was as black as charcoal, incomparably black. He almost couldn't catch his breath. As soon as he came up, he directly beat his own sister to the ground, and even injured her internal organs. This was a clear indication of his attitude towards her. Yiqing Luo was still aggressive. She even wanted to implicate the entire Shangguan family. Shangguan Fangyi had a feeling of resentment as he stared fiercely at Shangguan Liuli. He had long warned Shangguan Liuli not to have any conflict with Yiqing Luo before she was prepared. Shangguan Liuli couldn't see far ahead, but he could see clearly. If he rashly clashed with Yiqing Luo, he would be the one to suffer in the end. Look, now something happened. Shangguan Fangyi's breathing was heavy, as if he was trying hard to suppress the anger in his heart. Have you had enough? Just when everyone was silent, Instructor Ho looked at Yiqing Luo expressionlessly. These words seemed to be accusing Yiqing Luo of being unreasonable. But his tone was extremely calm, without any intention of blaming. Yiqing Luo replied with a smile, shrugged her shoulders and shook her head, but didn't continue to speak. She knew that Instructor Ho was standing on her side and thinking for her sake. The other party was after all from the Shangguan family. He also had his own faction in the academy. There was no need for Yiqing Luo to be so ruthless. Otherwise, if things really got out of hand, it wouldn't be beneficial to either side. Not only was it a waste of time, but it also affected his mood. Yiqing Luo shut her mouth and Instructor Ho looked at Shangguan Fangyi. I will hand this matter over to the director to handle. His words caused Shangguan Fangyi's face to turn green and white. Hand it over to the dean to handle? Wouldn't this cause the Shangguan family to lose face in front of the entire academy? If his father were to find out about this, not only would Shangguan Liuli be punished, even he would not be able to escape punishment. However, Instructor Ho was the one who said that. He didn't even have a chance to refute. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. Shangguan Fangyi lifted his leg and kicked Shangguan Liuli. Hurry up and thank Instructor He. Shangguan Liuli was in so much pain that her face turned pale. Her delicate body trembled as she lay on the ground, unable to get up. Hearing her brother's words, all of the grievances she had felt immediately surged up. Tears welled up in her eyes as she wailed loudly, "Third brother." It was clearly them who teamed up. Ah! Before he could finish, Shangguan Fangyi kicked him again. Shangguan Liuli was in so much pain that she didn't even have the strength to speak. Chapter 675. Shangguan Fangyi didn't dare to make a sound after being reprimanded for a long time. He bowed his head and answered, "Yes," repeatedly, not daring to show any impatience. "Since your brother is here, bring him directly to the faculty council to admit his mistake." Instructor Chu stepped forward and patted Instructor Ho's shoulder, indicating him to speak less. But he himself was not polite to Shangguan Fangyi's words. "Punish him as you should," student Shangguan should understand the seriousness of the rules. The implication was to warn Shangguan Fangyi not to attempt to use his power behind the scenes to absolve Shangguan Liuli. I understand. Shangguan Fangyi gritted his teeth, endured the grievance and bent over to pick up Shangguan Liuli, who was lying on the ground. Shangguan Liuli struggled and punched Shangguan Fangyi. This hammering was not just for fun. Instead, she gave Shangguan Fangyi's face a hard slap. She was venting the dissatisfaction in her heart, venting the grievance in her heart. Since young, even her father couldn't bear to hit her. Shangguan Fangyi dared to hit her and hurt her internal organs. He even kicked her when she couldn't move due to the pain. With resentment in her heart, Shangguan Liuli's attack was heavy and ruthless. Shangguan Fangyi held her in his arms, but he couldn't directly throw her on the ground in front of so many people. She dodged left and right, but still got hit several times. Shangguan Liuli. Stop it. Shangguan Fangyi couldn't bear it anymore and scolded in a low voice. Haven't you embarrassed yourself enough? How am I embarrassed? I just want fairness. Shangguan Liuli growled resentfully. Shangguan Fangyi immediately covered her mouth and apologized to the surrounding as he walked towards the entrance of the training ground. Shangguan Liuli. Just as they were about to walk out of the training ground, Yiqing Luo suddenly spoke and looked at the entrance indifferently. Shangguan Fangyi paused and turned his head. Yiqing Luo stood against the light in the training grounds and suddenly took a look. That brilliance had blurred that gorgeous face of hers. The entire training ground also fell into silence because of Yiqing Luo's words. If you are jealous of others' talent, then make yourself stronger. Only use your own suspicions to measure others, can only be the weak. Her clear and cold voice was sonorous and forceful with every syllable. Shangguan Liuli, who was still struggling to get out of Shangguan Fangyi's embrace, trembled. She looked over Shangguan Fangyi's shoulder at the girl standing against the light. His tear-filled eyes slightly dilated as anger surged up. Trash. What did you say, you, ugh? Shangguan Liuli's voice was sealed. She struggled but was no match for Shangguan Fangyi's strength. Shangguan Fangyi hurriedly hugged her, not daring to stay any longer. The training ground finally regained its original atmosphere. The surrounding students' gazes towards Yiqing Luo gradually changed. That's right, if you're jealous of others' talents, why not make yourself stronger? Blindly thinking that others were inferior to them, using their own thoughts to impose on others, to measure others, and then imagining that others were so powerful, there must be something wrong with them. With such thoughts, how could they truly improve? If he wasn't as good as others, then there must be something special about the other party. Even if someone really did something in the dark, to be able to succeed, that meant that the other party was outstanding. Just like what Shangguan Liuli said, if Yiqing Luo and the instructor collaborated, and intentionally let them win. Even if this matter was true, that was Yiqing Luo's ability, wasn't it? Chapter 676. Thinking of this, the students suddenly understood something. Student Yiqing Luo. Instructor Chu looked at Yiqing Luo's gaze with increasing admiration. Regarding the matter of going to class of gods, you should consider it carefully. This is a rare opportunity for you. This new student was completely different from the other freshmen. The more they looked at her, the more they felt that she was a gift from the heavens to the heavenly academy. Brave and resourceful, full of guts and a majestic aura. This kind of girl was much stronger than the guys. If she was placed in class of gods, with some training, she would definitely achieve a hegemony. In this strange world where the strong were respected, as long as she had enough ability, even if she was the queen, so what? No need to consider. Yiqing Luo shook her head. I know you are doing it for my own good, but in the devil class, I am fine. The two instructors saw that she insisted on not listening, looked at each other and frowned. But they also knew that Yiqing Luo had her own reasons for not accepting this opportunity, so they didn't continue to insist. The instructors looked around them. Because of Yiqing Luo, those freshmen who failed, did not leave directly. The instructors directly called for the freshmen to line up, said some final words, and let everyone remember what Yi Qing Luo said earlier, and then announced the dismissal. Lu Xiaoyu rushed forward and held Yi Qing Luo's arm. Her face was full of shock. Qing Luo, when did you become so powerful? Those are instructors, the two most powerful instructors among the freshmen. In this battle, Lu Xiaoyu could be said to be the most worried person. She roughly understood Yi Qing Luo's character, and knew that Yi Qing Luo would not do things that she was not sure of. But when she heard that Yi Qing Luo wanted to challenge two instructors at the same time, she was still stunned. If you also want to have such skills, you can look for me during the school holidays. Yi Qing Luo took Lu Xiaoyu and left the training ground together. The large group of students behind, all enviously looked at Yi Qing Luo's departing figure. That elegant and refined, extraordinary aura, was much more stunning than the first school's flower. Yi Qing Luo is really amazing. How did she do it? Yeah, I'm simply dumbstruck. A low-level profounder who clearly hasn't broken through to the mysterious profound realm actually possesses such formidable skills. It's too unbelievable. To be able to fight evenly with Instructor Chu, and to be able to fight evenly with Instructor He's help, how strong must he be to be able to do this? Right. Don't think that student Yi Qing Luo was at a disadvantage earlier, but the two instructors obviously didn't gain any advantage. If that battle had continued, it's still uncertain who would win. Even though they still couldn't tell who won this challenge, they still couldn't tell who won. Among the students, there were high profound class students and faculty council students who had suffered losses in Yi Qing Luo's hands. No matter what Yi Qing Luo did, they were extremely dissatisfied and were unable to develop any fondness for her. Yi Qing Luo was indeed a beautiful jade. From the moment she entered the academy, she had been shining and radiating her own brilliance. The more it was like this, the more self-proclaimed geniuses they hated Yi Qing Luo. Because in their hearts, the idea that Yi Qing Luo's name was equivalent to trash was deeply rooted. They weren't willing to admit that they weren't as good as Yi Qing Luo. He was unwilling to admit that he couldn't even compare to a piece of trash. Chapter 677. That's right, what powerful, she's just a waste class student and you guys still treat her like a goddess, envy her and think she's powerful? Aren't you throwing the face of the low profound class? She's just a yellow profound 9th grade waste, so what if she's powerful? Release her profound chi, if she can't even dodge one move, she'll die. These high profound class students kept calling it low profound class and wastrel class. These students from the intermediate and low profound classes were all filled with anger after being insulted. But due to the strength of the high profound class students, they could only clench their fists and swallow this anger. Looking at the low and intermediate class students who did not dare to speak up, the high profound class students revealed a smug sneer. There were also those students from the faculty council, many of them were intermediate class students and they also laughed along with the high profound class students, as if the ones being ridiculed were not their classmates. This feeling made these students feel extremely uncomfortable. They suppressed their anger and turned to the entrance of the training ground. Can't provoke, can't they just hide? At this moment, a deep and low, mellow and cold voice came into everyone's ears. Poor weaklings, you still don't know until now. Sure enough, you can only be the parasites of the high profound class, living a mediocre life relying on the high profound class. This voice was extremely soft and slow. Every word was spat out very clearly. It resounded throughout the entire training ground and even rippled with echoes. Under the awe of this voice, everyone's body stiffened and looked towards the direction of the voice. On the second floor of the training ground, there was a man dressed in a white robe, standing proudly. This man was different from the other masters in the school. They all had the appearance of an old man. But it was an extremely young man. Especially, that man, he had a handsome face, as if he was meticulously sculpted with uncanny craftsmanship. His lines and contours were filled with elegance that made one's heart palpitate. The most eye-catching thing was his pair of peach blossom-like eyes. The corners of his eyes were long and narrow, and his thick eyelashes trembled from time to time, faintly revealing a bit of evil charm. When all the female students saw that face, they subconsciously clutched their chests, unable to shift their gazes away. There's actually such a handsome man in this world? Compared to the most handsome man in the school, Si Yenmu, he was even more handsome. Who is he? He's wearing the uniform of our academy's teacher. How come I don't remember our academy having such a young teacher? Which class of teachers are they teaching? If he were the teacher teaching our class, I would definitely study hard and improve every day. What a handsome teacher. The female students couldn't contain their excitement as they stared at the man with adoration. The female students of the high profound class were not spared as well. They were completely mesmerized by this handsome face and did not notice that he was mocking them. The other male students quickly regained their senses after being shocked by the man's identity. There was even a tinge of jealousy in his eyes. Which class are you from? How come I've never seen you before? The young master chuckled and his peach blossom eyes were filled with a cold gleam. I heard that the Heavenly Academy respects teachers the most and the atmosphere is good. I didn't expect that a student from the high profound class could use such an interrogative tone to question a master. This has really opened my eyes. The few male students' faces turned ashen as they glared at the young teacher. Chapter 678. You're not even a teacher from the high profound class. Who are you? You have to prove that you're a teacher from our school. Otherwise, we will suspect that you're a spy from another school. A few male students patted the shoulders of the female students beside them. Why are you still being smitten? Didn't you hear him mocking us from the high profound class? We're all elites from the high profound class. Not being able to enter the class of gods means that we still have room for improvement. Who are you to say that we're parasites from the high profound class? One after another, the sound of cursing and argument. The training ground that had finally quietened down was once again filled with noise. Following that, a light chuckle could be heard. It was extremely light, but it suppressed the noise. It was the young teacher who was laughing. That smile made the contours of his face look extremely gentle. The curved peach blossom eyes made that face even more exuded a charm that could make one blush. Did I say anything wrong? The young teacher's hands were placed on the railing as he leaned his tall body on it. His posture was indolent and alluring. Students from the high profound class, not only do you have a bad character, you're also as dumb as a pig. Saying that, he sighed and shook his head helplessly. You! How could a proud and arrogant young man tolerate the provocation of a man who was more handsome than him? He immediately rushed towards the direction of the second floor. Then, he heard the man's light and leisurely voice. Who am I? Didn't you see that your instructors have not said a word? The male student stopped in his tracks and immediately turned to look at the two instructors. Only to see the two instructors standing at the side with a cold expression, looking respectfully at the young teacher on the second floor. That's right, respectful. Only then did the students realize that this young teacher's identity might not be as simple as a teacher. From the beginning to the end, the two instructors did not say a word. If this young teacher had really stolen the uniform of the school's teacher, the instructors would have rushed up to him. They were indeed as dumb as a pig. When the male students finally reacted, their anger was extinguished. Teacher Mo, these students are young and impetuous. If they have offended you in any way, I and old he would like to apologize to you. After the training ground became quiet again, Instructor Chu cupped his hands and bowed in the direction of the young master. The young teacher waved his hand. It's fine. I would like to thank these students for their passionate performance, allowing me to understand the atmosphere of the Heavenly Academy. The instructor's expression changed slightly. Their eyes met and he lowered his head. Master Mo, this is not what you see. This is a misunderstanding, I can explain, no need. Mo Zun's lips curled up as he squinted his peach blossom eyes. I don't want to make things difficult for both instructors, but these students from the high profound class really need to be disciplined. If they still have this kind of character after leaving the academy, it won't only be you guys who will be ashamed, but the entire Heavenly Academy. The instructors said in unison, thank you for your teachings, Supreme Mo. At this moment, on the other side of the second floor, a few elders in white robes walked over quickly. Their foreheads were covered in sweat, but when they saw Senior Mo, their eyes lit up. They bowed respectfully and said, Teacher Mo, the headmaster is waiting for you in the headmaster's office to discuss the matter of entering the class of gods. Please follow me. Class of gods. Supreme Mo raised his eyes and looked at the instructors. Which class is the female student who tied with the both of you in? Instructor Chu was stunned. Devil class. Very well, then devil class it is. Supreme Mo's slender fingers caressed his smooth chin. Chapter 679. After Yi Qing Luo left the training ground, she followed Lu Xiaoyu to the new dormitory. The dormitory which was destroyed by those killers had already been filled up by the academy's people during the 3 days holiday. Perhaps it was because Yi Qing Luo was assassinated in the academy specially prepared all the daily necessities for her as an apology. After Yi Qing Luo left, she called out Shi Ju and sniffed the surroundings, checking once to make sure that there was no problem with these daily necessities before she was assured. She couldn't be blamed for making a fuss over nothing. It was better to be safe than sorry. After all. Towards this director, Yi Qing Luo had always been suspicious. Yi Qing Luo felt that the director definitely had something to do with it. And what was the relationship between the director and that protector, as well as the so-called lord, she still didn't know. Who knew if the director would tamper with the daily necessities prepared for her in order to create a false impression of her sudden death? After Yi Qing Luo took a bath, she changed out of her sweaty uniform and immediately soaked in the water. She drew a clean cloth and wiped her hair. When her gaze landed on the uniform in the water, her hands paused. Somewhere in her heart, there was a violent throbbing. A man dressed in a luxurious purple robe seemed to appear in front of her eyes, squatting in front of the wooden basin, his slender fingers, holding her smelly clothes, rubbing it tirelessly. That noble man, that high and mighty man, was doing the most ordinary thing between a husband and wife, for her. Because it was him, this kind of ordinary, was even more precious. Dmo Xian, Yi Qing Luo pursed her pink lips, as she placed the wet cloth on her shoulder, she leaned against the bed and sat down. Was it? She missed him too much after not seeing him for a few days? Why, there was an extremely strong feeling in her heart, as though he was not far away from her. It couldn't be. Dmo Xian had already been chased to the imperial palace to recuperate. She had said that before his injury was fully healed, he was not allowed to come to the academy to look for her. With such a serious injury, it would take at least half a month for him to recover. At this time, it was impossible for Dmo Xian to appear in the academy. Yi Qing Luo shook her head and suppressed her longing to the bottom of her heart. Grabbing the cloth on her shoulder, she dried her hair while walking towards the window, trying to divert her attention. She didn't realize that the profound phoenix ring on her finger and the flowing red light seemed to have sensed something as her heart raced. The red light seemed to have sensed something and started to wander around the ring. Outside the window was the flat ground where the women's dormitory hung their clothes. Looking at the rows of bamboo poles, they were all neat greenish-white uniforms, with the occasional small objects used by women mixed in. At this moment, there were a few female students hanging their clothes together. Have you guys heard that a student from the High Profound class went missing? Are you talking about that Su Rong from High Profound class 1 who is quite talented? That's right, that's him. This matter has been going on for a few days. I heard that he went missing in our academy. Didn't the academy say that student Su Rong voluntarily applied to leave the academy a few days before the holidays? Su Rong's parents have already come to the academy. They said that it was a holiday and they didn't see their son come home at all. A few female students gathered together. Naturally, it was inevitable to discuss the latest gossip. Yi Qing Luo leaned against the window, her slender brows slightly knitted. She had heard of this Su Rong. Most of the students in the Heavenly Academy were either rich or respectable. Chapter 680. Because of his mediocre family background, in order to repay his parents, he worked extremely hard after he entered the academy. His innate talent was indeed not bad, he was not afraid of hardships and was willing to study hard. In a short span of 4 years, he successfully entered the high profound class 1. Because it was an inspirational thing. The other students would mention it from time to time. Yiqing Luo had also heard about it. Listening to the discussion of these female students, Yiqing Luo vaguely felt something was amiss. Su Rong had entered the high profound class 1 for less than a year. His profound grade was estimated to be around the 4th or 5th grade. She heard that there were many large families who were prepared to buy him over at a high price. Su Rong had yet to decide which force to pledge allegiance to. At this time, how could Su Rong withdraw from the academy? One must know that once he withdrew from the academy, without the halo of a high profound class student, he would not be that valuable. Yiqing Luo expressed that she could not understand this point. Speaking of this, I also thought of something. A female student lowered her voice and said mysteriously, "It seems that there are also 2 students in our class who withdrew from the academy. There are also students who withdrew from the intermediate profound class 2. Are they crazy? It was not easy to get into the Heavenly Academy. After so many years of hard work, they want to withdraw from the academy? Actually, I don't know if you have heard of the rumors about the Heavenly Academy." Upon hearing the gossip, the few female students put down the clothes in their hands and huddled together. They heard the older female student whispered, "Rumor. Every holiday, there will be 2 or 3 students who withdraw from the academy." The other female students rolled their eyes. Isn't this a very normal thing? Students leaving the academy and new students coming in, this was a common thing in Sikong. This is indeed very normal, but what is not normal is these students who withdrew from the academy, many of their family elders came to the academy to inquire. They did not even return home during the holidays. The few female students dared not to say a word. After those elders came once, they did not come to the academy again. Everyone thought that those students had returned home, but the older female student carefully glanced around, her voice was even lower. "This time when I went home, I heard from my mother that her cousin's child, after he withdrew from the academy half a year ago, until now, they have not returned. That is to say, after these students submitted their withdrawal application, there was no trace of them, in other words, missing." The female students were instantly dumbfounded, their eyes filled with fear. The atmosphere suddenly froze. While talking about this, the female students looked around and found that there was no one else around, giving off an eerie feeling. Frightened, they gathered up their clothes and left together. Yiqing Luo, who was standing by the window, frowned even tighter. She pulled down the cloth that was drying her hair and placed it on the table. She narrowed her eyes and carefully rearranged the conversation of those female students in her mind. For some reason, her mind inexplicably recalled the plan that the dean and the protector mentioned on the 2nd floor of the library pavilion that day. After these students applied to leave the academy, they disappeared without a trace. It was as if they had disappeared from this world. Could it be? Is it related to that so-called plan? This thought instantly made Yiqing Luo's heart thumped. The disappearance of those students was definitely not a coincidence. Moreover, every single one of them had voluntarily applied to leave the academy. Just as she had deduced before, generally speaking, those who were able to enter the intermediate profound class or even the high profound class, as long as they were noticed by other forces and wanted to be taken in as their own, their status would skyrocket. Who would choose to leave the academy at this time? There was definitely something wrong with this. Chapter 681. Yiqing Luo's heart was filled with questions. The disappearance of those students made Yiqing Luo recall the conversation she had heard on the 2nd story of the library pavilion. She remembered that the director had once said something, "Those few people whom his lordship had pointed out, I have already kept them, without leaving any traces." Those few people whom he had pointed out? Was he referring to Su Rong and the rest? If it was really Su Rong and the rest, then the director had created a false impression that the students had withdrawn from the academy, leaving them in the academy, disappearing forever. Just for that so-called his lordship's grand plan? These were only her own guesses. There was no evidence to prove that the students' disappearances were related to the director. Harboring these questions, Yiqing Luo was slightly distracted as she helped Ghost Doctor to change his dressing in the pill refining room. After a few days of recuperation, Ghost Doctor's shoulder wound had already healed. After Yiqing Luo fixed the gauze, she carried the tray and placed it on the wooden table, as she subconsciously stuffed the things on top into the drawer. Ghost Doctor frowned as he glanced sideways at the bandaged wound on his shoulder. "Lass, you didn't even sprinkle any medicinal powder and directly wrapped it up?" "Ah." Yiqing Luo suddenly regained her senses as she blinked her eyes, and after some time, she nodded her head in a daze. "I seem to have forgotten to sprinkle some medicinal powder. Let me remove the gauze and bandage it up again." Saying that, she took out the gauze and medicine bottle which she had placed back into the drawer. Ghost Doctor's brows creased even tighter as he impatiently waved his hand. Forget it, I'll let you torment me a few more times and my injury will never recover." Yiqing Luo guiltily drooped her eyelids. "Master." No matter how puzzled she was, when she was helping Ghost Doctor to bandage his wound and learning how to refine pills, she shouldn't be distracted. Right from the start, Ghost Doctor had already told her this point. Before reaching the rank of an alchemy ancestor, one must not look or think while refining pills. One must not be distracted, otherwise, it would easily affect the profound jade heart. Not only would the pill refining fail, it would also cause damage to oneself. "From the moment you came in, I could tell that you were absent-minded." Ghost Doctor's expression was impatient. His hands were clasped together, as he was extremely frustrated. He wanted to find out what Yiqing Luo was thinking about in her head, but was worried that if she said it out, he would be in trouble again. But looking at Yiqing Luo's absent-minded look, his heart felt even more frustrated. The Ghost Doctor slammed the table in annoyance. "You are the disciple of the Ghost Doctor. In the future, when it comes to refining medicine, you will represent the face and reputation of the Ghost Doctor. Focus on learning how to refine medicine. Throw everything else aside." After a moment of silence, he raised his hand and ruffled his messy white hair. "If you really can't solve it, I'll solve it for you." Looking at Ghost Doctor's gloomy expression, obviously feeling that it was troublesome, but he forced himself to help her solve the problem, Yiqing Luo couldn't help but laugh out loud. "What are you laughing at? Just tell me what you want. Stop wasting time." Yiqing Luo muttered to herself for a moment, but still asked the doubt in her heart directly. "Master Ghost Doctor, have you heard of the rumors about the academy?" The Ghost Doctor's position in the academy was obviously similar to Guo Yu's. None of them feared the headmaster. In other words, he was a senior figure in this academy. Although the Ghost Doctor was immersed in concocting medicine, and didn't care about the matters of the outside world. However, he had more or less heard the rumors about the academy. Rumors? Ghost Doctor squinted his eyes, as he raised his hand and slapped Yiqing Luo's forehead. "The most important thing now is to quickly understand all the knowledge and skills in concocting medicine, then successfully refine a high-grade medicinal pill for me." Ghost Doctor was exasperated that iron didn't meet his expectations. He was absent-minded for the entire day, just because of some lousy rumor. Chapter 682. Yiqing Luo hugged her head and dodged to the side as she muttered, "What I want to ask is the rumor of the missing students, is it true or not?" The anger on the Ghost Doctor's face froze. His tightly furrowed white brows gradually gathered together, forming a few wrinkles. "Where did you hear that rumor?" This expression, this tone, the Ghost Doctor had definitely heard of this rumor. "Master Ghost Doctor, does that mean the disappearance of the students is true?" The Ghost Doctor berated. "Whether it's real or fake, this matter has nothing to do with you as a student. Just do your part, you don't have to worry about anything else." The Ghost Doctor's words had indirectly admitted that the students had gone missing. Not only was this matter real, but the Ghost Doctor also seemed to be related to the disappearance of the students. The Ghost Doctor's emotions fluctuated greatly. As a student, she didn't need to care about this matter. Then, what did he mean by taking care of it? To the Ghost Doctor, who hated troublesome matters the most, he would at most hear about such matters, and would definitely not take it to heart. But the ghost doctor's attitude was different. Yiqing Luo's heart suddenly thumped hard. Ghost doctor and director, surely they weren't in cahoots, right? After that, this thought was swiftly swept away from her mind. Since she had become the ghost doctor's disciple, she should believe in her own master, and believe in her own foresight. There were many things that she couldn't jump to conclusions before she truly understood them. Seeing Yiqing Luo not speaking for a long time, Ghost Doctor paced back and forth in frustration, as his hands impatiently scratched his hair. That sinister and dark face seemed even more horrifying. Lass, whether this matter is true or not, you shouldn't interfere. This isn't something you can interfere with. You just have to remember that what you need to do now is to improve your overall strength. In addition to the ability to refine medicine, I will also guide you on how to properly guide the profound jade heart and cultivate profound energy. The ghost doctor paused for a moment, then sighed meaningfully. Let the teachers of the academy deal with the rumors. If you still think of me as your master, then listen to me and don't do anything rash. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips. Obviously, there were too many things involved in the disappearance of the students. Even the ghost doctor wasn't confident that she could solve this problem. Yiqing Luo took a deep breath and heavily spat out a word, N. Yes, what she needed to do now was to increase her strength. Before she had absolute power, the ghost doctor didn't have the confidence to handle things. Even if she wanted to, she didn't have the ability to. Moreover, she had never thought of herself as a kind person. She wouldn't run around for other people's business, and she might even lose her own life. As for why she was so concerned about the disappearance of the students, it was only because she was the one who eavesdropped on the conversation between the headmaster and the strange protector on the second floor of the library. From their words, it was obvious that they were pointing at a new student. From the process of her interaction with the director, Yiqing Luo was almost certain that the freshman whom they were referring to was indeed her. The disappearance of the students was just a precursor. It was very likely that the next student to go missing would be her. Don't think too much, lest you disturb your state of mind. If your state of mind is disturbed, it will be a huge obstacle to your advancement and cultivation of profound energy. Ghost Doctor shook his head as he slowly walked towards Yiqing Luo, patting her shoulder lightly as he changed the topic. Chapter 683. My Profound Jade Heart. Yiqing Luo wasn't surprised that Ghost Doctor knew that her profound jade heart was unstable. To Ghost Doctor, just taking her pulse was enough to find out all the problems in her body. Yiqing Luo's eyelids drooped as she placed her hand on her heart and shook her head. My profound jade heart has been dug out. Now this piece of profound jade heart is Ah Xian. Also the Overlord, who helped me to condense this profound jade heart. Dug out? Ghost Doctor's eyes sunk as he speedily locked onto Yiqing Luo's wrist. His expression was solemn as his gaze turned sharp. After checking carefully, Ghost Doctor's white brows creased. No wonder this profound jade heart is so unstable. So this isn't your profound jade heart. He should have guessed it earlier. Yiqing Luo's body had undergone marrow cleansing and her limbs and bones were all in a state of absorbing the heaven and earth's spiritual qi. And her state of mind was much broader and stronger than the average person. Her aptitude was outstanding and her innate talent was heaven-defying. At least her current profound grade was at least earth profound grade and above. But unfortunately, her current profound grade was only mystic profound 8th grade. Moreover, in these 3 days of holidays, she had consecutively broken through to profound grade. It didn't match his guess at all. So, the problem was with her profound jade heart. Master Ghost Doctor, I know I'm wrong. I understand what I should do now. Yiqing Luo's eyes lit up as she clenched her fists tightly and raised her head. I will not ask any more questions that are beyond my capabilities. Right, what she needed to do now was to make herself stronger. Since she was sure that the director's target was her, all the more she should raise her own ability to prevent herself from falling into the director's evil hands. If she didn't want to be one of the missing students, then she should create her own chance to save herself. Otherwise. No matter how worried or afraid she was, when things really happened to her, she had no way to resist and would be trampled upon, which would only make her even more aggrieved. Lass, when your ability has gained my recognition, I will tell you everything you want to know, including the reason why I got injured. Yiqing Luo nodded her head vigorously. For the following time, Yiqing Luo returned to the repetitive days of refining pills, training, refining pills training. The news of Yiqing Luo challenging the instructors on the last day of the freshman training and ended in a draw against two instructors at the same time spread throughout the entire academy. As for those students from the high profound class, they were reported to the principal by the instructors, and the principal personally went to the high profound class to hold a meeting for the students. Furthermore, he made an announcement to the entire academy, accusing the high profound class students of not respecting their elders, and punished the entire class to clean the academy grounds for a month. These high profound class students were unconvinced, but they dared not be as arrogant as that day. Occasionally, there were students from other classes who used a worshipping tone to mention about the incident of Yiqing Luo and the instructor becoming friends, as they quietly ridiculed her. In their hearts, most of their thoughts were the same as Shengguan Liuli. Of course, they didn't think that their instructor would go easy on them. They were all certain that the instructors had left some face for Yiqing Luo, hence he let her off just when she was about to admit defeat. This couldn't be considered a challenge at all. The two instructors had fought to a draw. These soft complaints and ridicule did not attract the attention of the other students. Because the two instructors had openly suggested to the principal that Yiqing Luo could enter the class of gods to learn. This action shocked the entire academy's teachers and students. Helping Yiqing Luo to apply to enter the class of gods. That meant to say, these two cold-faced instructors had completely recognized Yiqing Luo's ability. Chapter 684. The cold-faced instructor's reputation was not undeserved. They thought that Yiqing Luo had the qualifications to enter the class of gods, which meant that they had indeed fought to a draw with Yiqing Luo. A freshman, a 15-year-old freshman, a 15-year-old freshman who was in the realm of yellow profound 9th grade. She already had the ability to fight to a draw with the two cold-faced instructors. How scary would she be in the future when she grew up? How could such a heaven-defying genius condescend to stay in the devil class, that waste class? Yiqing Luo absolutely had the qualifications to enter the class of gods. All the students were incomparably envious, admiring and exclaiming in admiration towards Yiqing Luo. They had already forgotten about it. This Yiqing Luo was once the target of their ridicule and abuse. Just as the students were waiting for the director to issue the notice to transfer Yiqing Luo to the class of gods, Yiqing Luo stood out. She directly rejected the two instructors' good intentions, and tactfully expressed that she wanted to stay in the devil class. Yiqing Luo's rejection, without a doubt, set off a storm in the academy. The class of gods. That was the class of gods. Even 100 devil classes could not be compared to the class of gods. That was a godlike existence in the heavenly academy, completely surpassing the faculty council, the elder quarters and the director's existence. The class of gods, how many students yearned for it? Even if it wasn't to enter the class of gods, just to meet the students of the class of gods and speak to them, they felt that this life was enough. Yiqing Luo was a student of the devil class. She finally had the chance to enter the class of gods, and she actually rejected it? The entire academy immediately felt that there was something wrong with Yiqing Luo's brain. At this moment, some were guessing the reason why Yiqing Luo rejected the class of gods, and the topic was brought up to the eve of the academy's holiday. Yiqing Luo accepted the challenge from the intermediate profound class 2 class monitor, Xia Yan. Yiqing Luo was to lead the devil class to participate in the interclass competition 8 months later. Could it be that this was the reason why Yiqing Luo rejected it? The minute this was said, some students immediately jumped out. Impossible. Only an idiot would give up his bright future just for a devil class competition. If it were you, would you be willing to do so? All the students were unable to refute. If it were them, they couldn't be bothered about the competition. If they could enter the class of gods, they would be willing even if it cost them half their lives. Furthermore, To lead the devil class to participate in the interclass competition? No matter how powerful Yi Qing Luo was, that was only her own matter. How could the trash class have the ability to fight against them? You guys don't believe it either, right? I don't believe it either. How could student Yi Qing Luo give up the chance to enter the class of gods for a waste class? The interclass competition isn't an individual competition. Those trash and devil class probably won't even be able to pass the first round of preliminaries. Why is Goddess Qing Luo so stubborn? There were all kinds of discussions, all kinds of suspicions, among which there were also high profound class students who secretly mocked Yi Qing Luo, determined that Yi Qing Luo was deliberately putting on an act. But no one could really guess the reason. Just as the students' blood was boiling and they were constantly looking for the latest gossip, the dean also appeared. No, to be more precise, it was a notice. The announcement was concise and comprehensive. He was basically explaining that the matter of the instructor helping Yi Qing Luo to enter the class of gods was just a rumor in the academy. And the reason why Yi Qing Luo refused to enter the class of gods was because this matter was fake. Chapter 685. Misunderstanding? The students were not easy to fool. On the last day of the freshman training, at least 300 to 400 students crowded there to watch the scene. The instructor had personally mentioned the class of gods to Yi Qing Luo in front of so many students. How could it be fake? But the notice issued by the director insisted that it was fake and a misunderstanding. The students did not believe it and went to ask the instructor. The instructor, who had always been cold and didn't care about anything, actually answered the students' questions. We are unwilling to throw Yi Qing Luo's face, so we purposely held back, creating a false impression that we and Yi Qing Luo fought to a draw. Instructor Ho snorted coldly, his eyes were as cold as ice. I don't know which student started this rumor, but, if I were to investigate, I would definitely punish the student who slandered the instructor according to the academy's rules. Unwilling to let the students lose their face? Have you ever seen us care about anyone's face? Instructor Chu just sneered and asked. Immediately, the students shook their heads. How could the cold-faced instructor care about the student's face? They would rather believe that the sun rose from the west. That day of the challenge, there were more than 300 students who witnessed it. Whether Instructor Chu and I went easy or not, I believe everyone's eyes are clear. As for why we chose to end the competition at that time. Yi Qing Luo was pinned against the wall, Instructor Chu and I attacked together, but it doesn't mean that she would lose. Yi Qing Luo is a stubborn student, she will look for any chance to win. That battle, although Yi Qing Luo was at a disadvantage, but she couldn't beat us, and we couldn't really knock her down. The meaning of the training challenge is not to determine the winner or loser, but to test the student's skills and reaction ability. We naturally chose to end the challenge. After explaining, the two instructors applied for half a month's sick leave and left the school. For a moment, the school was in a flurry of discussion. There were some students who formed a group to follow Yi Qing Luo, hoping to stop her and ask her the reason why she refused to enter the class of gods, as well as the interclass competition 8 months later, if devil class really wanted to take part, etc. Yi Qing Luo only answered affirmatively that the devil class would definitely participate in the interclass competition. After that, these students couldn't find any trace of Yi Qing Luo. Those from the high profound class and faculty council who hated Yi Qing Luo naturally started to jump up and down, unwilling to be left out. Some ridiculed Yi Qing Luo for not knowing the immensity of heaven and earth. They would definitely give devil class a heavy blow in the interclass competition. Some ridiculed Yi Qing Luo's rejection of the class of gods, which was actually a gimmick planned by her. It was just to make a name for herself in the academy, to make the other students envious of her, to look up to her, to satisfy her vanity. Devil class's students totally did not care about the turmoil in the academy. They were currently locked in the devil class, receiving the cruel and torturous training from Long Yun Zhan and the rest. Yi Qing Luo would definitely take part in the daily team training, and based on each student's individual physique, she would give pointers on more effective training. Yi Qing Luo was not only training these devil class students who were filled with hope, she was also training herself. 7 days later. Yiqing Luo walked out from the secret room and passed the 3 jade bottles in her hands to Ghost Doctor. In the past few days, she had successfully entered the Grandmaster Alchemist level and became a true alchemist. Chapter 686. These were the pills which Ghost Doctor had instructed Yiqing Luo to refine, and it was an assessment for her. 3 chances. 1 bottle of high-grade pills, 2 bottles of middle-grade pills. The failure rate was 0. Ghost Doctor had never seen such a talented alchemist. Even for him, when he was at Yiqing Luo's age, he absolutely had no way to maintain a 100% success rate when refining high-grade pills. Ghost Doctor had really not expected that. He initially felt that tidying up was too troublesome, so he casually caught a young lady who knew how to differentiate medicinal herbs and was interested in this aspect. He had not expected that this young lady actually gave him such a huge surprise. Not only did she have a photographic memory, she could remember every single word and sentence which she had read from books clearly, she also had an extremely strong ability to differentiate. Furthermore, the most important thing was, Yiqing Luo herself was already a master-grade alchemist. This grade, in the field of alchemy which used up a lot of money, energy, and had a low success rate, was absolutely considered as an average standard. There would be quite a number of powerhouses who would fight over her, wanting to recruit her as a target. Although towards the skill and method of alchemy, Yiqing Luo was still extremely unfamiliar. But as long as he gave a slight hint, Yiqing Luo would swiftly react, comprehending everything that Ghost Doctor said. In just 7 days, she had advanced to become a Grandmaster Alchemist. This kind of innate talent. It was so heaven-defying that it was a little scary. Presumably, it wouldn't take long before Yiqing Luo would be able to replace his position. Master Ghost Doctor, when do you think I can refine the bone healing pill? Yiqing Luo wiped the sweat off her forehead. After refining these 3 bottles of pills, Yiqing Luo's entire body felt weak and powerless. Especially that profound jade heart in her chest, which was restlessly stirring. As though the stored energy was slowly disappearing. Yiqing Luo was still a master-grade alchemist, and refining pills must be done using her soul consciousness, which required the profound jade heart to nurture the heart flame as the main, with energy as support. She had been refining these 3 pills, which exhausted half of her energy. Her profound jade heart wasn't her own profound jade heart. After refining the pills, it caused the profound jade heart to be exhausted. Ghost Doctor had said it was a pity more than once. For a pill-refining genius like Yiqing Luo, if she used her original profound jade heart, the purity of her heart flame would be even higher and the pills she refined would be even purer. Ghost Doctor supported Yiqing Luo's arm with one hand as he threw her towards the soft couch by the side. Just based on your current state, and you still want to refine the bone healing pill? Let's first refine this profound jade heart's heart flame to 100% purity. Yiqing Luo held her forehead as she sighed, lying limply on the soft mattress, refusing to get up, nor did she want to move. This feeling of the profound heart jade losing its strength was really unpleasant. This was not the first time she had encountered such a situation. Without Dmo Xian around, she had become a salted fish. There's no need to panic for the bone healing pill. The Ghost Doctor placed the 3 bottles on the porcelain in the middle of the table. You only have these 2 main herbs. If you fail, you'll have to think of another way to find rare herbs like the mysterious ice immortal root and infant grass. In other words, if Yiqing Luo wanted to restore Zi Ling's leg, she must ensure a 100% success rate. Yiqing Luo's long curly eyes quivered. She couldn't guarantee it. No one was able to guarantee anything about refining pills. Take a rest before returning to Devil class. Come back tomorrow to take the next assessment. Throwing this sentence, the Ghost Doctor returned to the secret room. Chapter 687. After bidding farewell to Ghost Doctor, Yiqing Luo had just walked down the stairs to the 2nd story when she saw Mo Yuing expressionlessly standing by the wall. She was dressed in a pink furry dress, which was extremely eye-catching. The students who were passing by, as well as those who were studying seriously or reading books, all couldn't help but congregated their gazes over. Mouing? That puppet-like, expressionless waste? She was also a student of devil class. Quite a number of students recognized Mouing, but they didn't dare to humiliate her like usual. Because Yi Qing Luo was also a student of devil class. Humiliating Mouing in front of Yi Qing Luo was also humiliating her. The current Yi Qing Luo was a celebrity in the academy. Seeing Yi Qing Luo coming out, Mouing slowly walked up. Her round lowly eyes were wide open, but there wasn't any focus. Class monitor asked you to return to devil class. He has something to announce. Announce something? Why hadn't she heard of this matter? Every time devil class needed to decide on something, wouldn't Long Yunzhan discuss with her before deciding? I've waited for you for a long time, the class should have started. Mouing tilted her head, using her rigid, emotionless voice to say every word. Yi Qing Luo nodded. The two of them speedily headed towards the direction of devil class. There wasn't a single figure in the training grounds. Yi Qing Luo frowned, as she sped towards the classroom. Before she got close to the classroom's entrance, she heard a deep and mellow voice coming from inside. How you usually are, will be how you will be in future, there's no need to cooperate with my rhythm. This voice sounded extremely unfamiliar. Absolutely not any student from devil class. But this tone, why did it sound a little familiar? While speaking, there was a slight smile at the end, which made her heart suddenly tremble fiercely. That voice continued, what I want to see, is the truest devil class, the devil class that doesn't wear the skin of waste. Teacher. Long Yunzhan's cold voice cut off that unfamiliar voice. Our devil class itself is. Someone is skipping class. Not waiting for Long Yunzhan to finish his words, that voice continued with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Long Yunzhan's words were also cut off, as he couldn't continue the conversation. Yi Qing Luo could tell that Long Yunzhan was getting impatient and couldn't hold on any longer. The people who skipped class, that person was referring to was probably her and Mouing. There was actually an outsider who came to the devil class. Long Yunzhan and the rest were unable to stop him. From this, it could be seen that this person was not only of noble status, but also extremely powerful. Yi Qing Luo walked over quickly and pushed open the wooden door of the classroom. Pa! The wooden door hit the wall, making a loud noise. The voices in the classroom stopped abruptly. Yi Qing Luo stood at the door and saw a young man dressed in a white robe standing on the high platform with both hands propped up on Master Ku's table. His figure was tall and slender with smooth lines. His golden ratio figure was indeed very attractive. The man's side profile was handsome, and his posture was languid but elegant. Upon hearing the commotion, he turned his gaze over. That handsome face, without any concealment, crashed into Yi Qing Luo's pupils. Her eyebrows were full, and the smile at the corner of her mouth was peerless. His entire body exuded an extremely clean and elegant aura. What attracted Yi Qing Luo the most was that pair of peach blossom-filled eyes. The corners of his eyes were long and narrow, slightly curving upwards, giving off an extremely demonic charm, extremely alluring. Chapter 688. Las Luo, come over quickly, this is Supreme Mo, he will be teaching in the devil class for the next period of time. Guiyu waved at Yi Qing Luo with a face full of smiles. Apparently, he was extremely happy that this man called Supreme Mo was going to teach in the devil class. Yi Qing Luo seemed as though she hadn't heard what Guiyu said as she stood rooted to the ground, her eyes widened as she stared at Supreme Mo without blinking. Luo lass. Guiyu had already walked over and slapped her on the head, hurry up and greet him. Mo. Supreme Mo. Yi Qing Luo spat out a few words in a daze. Supreme Mo's peach blossom eyes rose as it became increasingly long and narrow, that flowing light was filled with a captivating charm. Looking at the dumbstruck Yi Qing Luo who was so stunned that she couldn't say a word, his rosy lips curled into a slight arc. Student Yi Qing Luo, I've heard of your name, in future. Please take care of me. The last few words were spat out one by one from his mouth. Every word he spat out was like a heavy knock on her heart. Qing Luo, don't tell me. You've been smitten by Supreme Mo? Tong Zi Qing's cold and beautiful eyes glanced at Yi Qing Luo as she teased. This is not like you. The other students nodded in agreement. Look, their Madame Qing Luo had an expression of seeing a living ghost as she stood there in a daze, staring at Supreme Mo without blinking. Supreme Mo was indeed a rare good-looking man. But the overlord's looks were definitely on a higher level. Their Madame Qing Luo was actually smitten by another man to the extent that she was head over heels for him. This was too illogical. Cough. Cough cough. Hearing the students teasing, Yi Qing Luo's throat was blocked as she started coughing violently. Not knowing when Supreme Mo had arrived by her side. His slender fair hand gently rested on Yi Qing Luo's shoulder as he smiled warmly. Student Yi Qing Luo, are you feeling unwell? Yi Qing Luo's petite body shuddered as she wanted to shrink back. But the strength of that big palm seemed to be extremely light, but it held her tightly in his palm. The other students were in an uproar when they saw this scene. Why did Mo Supreme and Yi Qing Luo interact so strangely and yet so harmonious? It was as if they had known each other for a long time. However, the conversation between the two of them was clearly the first time they had met. Teacher Supreme Mo, Long Yun Zhan frowned as his azure blue eyes swept past revered Mo's hand which was placed on Yi Qing Luo's shoulder, as his brows creased even tighter. He walked over expressionlessly as he stretched out his hand and grabbed Yi Qing Luo's arm. Devil class's students are all here. Whatever you have to say, you can say it directly. But unexpectedly, just as Long Yun Zhan's hand was about to grab Yi Qing Luo's arm, he felt a gust of cool breeze brushing past his palm. Long Yun Zhan's brows furrowed as he glanced sideways. Yi Qing Luo was already in Senior Mo's arms and Senior Mo's hand was placed on Yi Qing Luo's slender waist as his 5 fingers clasped tightly. Bang! The students of Devil class, how would they still have the mood to watch the show? His boss was being disrespected by another man in front of him. How could he tolerate this? All of a sudden, the students slammed the table and stood up, their expressions ugly. I don't care what teacher you are, let go of Madame Qing Luo. Let go of your hand. Otherwise don't blame me for breaking your hand. As the students were saying that, they had already flocked towards the direction of the table. Chapter 689. Master Guiyu, he is molesting Madame Qing Luo. The students howled furiously as their eyes were bloodshot. Supreme Mo was still hugging Yi Qing Luo as he stood on the stage with a calm expression and a smile on his lips, as though his action was an extremely normal thing. Whereas Yi Qing Luo was nestled in his arms, not struggling at all, nor did she say a single word. Long Yun Zhan exchanged glances as his heart was filled with hesitation. This Supreme Mo was extremely powerful. Even old man Guiyu seemed to be extremely respectful towards Supreme Mo. To be able to make the old urchin old man Guiyu respect him, how powerful was he? Yi Qing Luo's performance was also very strange. She seemed to be shocked as her gaze was glued onto Supreme Mo's face. This indeed wasn't the usual Yi Qing Luo. Could it be that this Supreme Mo and Yi Qing Luo actually knew each other? From each other's eyes, the few of them could tell that they had the same thoughts. Long Yun Zhan stood up and was about to stop those agitated students when he was interrupted by Ghost Doctor. Do you know who he is? Do you know what he is here for? A bunch of brats, can't you see that last Luo isn't resisting at all? Ghost Doctor stretched out his hand to stop those students as he turned his body and pointed towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. The students paused for a moment before they finally reacted. That's right. Yi Qing Luo totally didn't resist at all. She obediently shrank into Supreme Mo's arms. If it was during normal times, other men who wanted to flirt with Yi Qing Luo would absolutely be beaten up by her. Why didn't Yi Qing Luo struggle? Not resisting? Could it be that Yi Qing Luo had really been bewitched by Supreme Mo? Then, what about the Overlord? Seeing the students calming down, old man Guiyu heaved a sigh of relief as he wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Little brats, stop it. Supreme Mo concerns your future. Yiqing Luo regained her senses from old man Guiyu's roars. She raised her eyes and glanced at the man who was hugging her tightly before looking at old man Guiyu. Teacher Guiyu, he concerns our future? Old man Guiyu gave a cold humph as his white beard fluttered. The academy's main courtyard, you should have heard of it. The students nodded their heads in unison. The academy headquarters was equivalent to the mercenary guild of the mercenary group, and also equivalent to the current education bureau. If they wanted to establish an academy, or formulate some internal rules, fees, and other issues, as long as it was something related to the academy, they would have to go to the academy's headquarters to apply for it. He is the evaluator sent by the Heavenly Academy, Supreme Mo. The moment old man Guiyu finished his sentence, all the students' gazes converged in Senior Mo's direction. They had never expected that the general hospital would have such a young evaluator. One had to know that one had to pay a huge price to become an evaluator of the headquarters. It wasn't just about being strong enough. Furthermore, he had to maintain a high moral character and be able to convince others. Anyone who mentioned his name would give him a thumbs up and praise him endlessly. Generally speaking, to be able to reach this level in the field of education, one should have been in this field for at least a few decades. Especially in such a serious circle, young people could not be a deterrent at all. Judges? Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes in a daze. Towards the academy's specific matters, her understanding was rather vague. The students took a careful look at Supreme Mo and immediately took turns to explain about the evaluators. As Yiqing Luo listened, she roughly understood about the evaluators. Chapter 690. Every year, the Academy would conduct a selection for the best academy, to show the main academy's commendation to the academy. And before the selection, the main academy would send 1 or 2 evaluators to enter the academy to understand the overall situation. This evaluator, in order to fully understand the academy's situation, would usually stay in the academy for 3 to 5 months. And in these few months, the evaluator could choose to teach in one of the classes. Of course, he could also choose to sit in on the class. Generally, the academy would arrange the evaluator to conduct the investigation in the middle and upper classes. For example, High Profound Class 2, Intermediate Profound Class 2 and such classes. After all, if the evaluator went to the class of gods to teach, no matter how good the performance was, it was a matter of course. If the evaluator went to the Low Profound class to teach, those teachers' qualifications were not that good, and the standard of the teachers were lower than the Intermediate and High Profound classes. It was easy to make a joke out of the evaluator. What made Yiqing Luo surprised was, why would the academy agree to let the evaluator teach in Devil class? Devil class was a waste class in front of the entire academy's teachers and students. The trash students in the trash class, as well as the crazy teacher Guiyu. Wasn't the evaluator afraid of dragging down the Heavenly Academy's meticulously created Gao-Dashan image? Las Luo, I'm doing this for you. This Supreme Mo will be staying in Devil class to teach for the next few months, you understand. Guiyu winked his eyes. If it wasn't for the evaluator's identity, how could Guiyu, who didn't even care about the director, respect a little brat who was many generations younger than him? Yiqing Luo naturally understood that Guiyu's respect towards Supreme Mo was all for Devil class. The reason why he agreed to the interclass competition 8 months later was to let Devil class shine in that competition. To let these youngsters who had held back for several years, or even more than 10 years, stand in the light and let their brilliance shine. If Supreme Mo was willing to help Devil class, to Devil class, it was definitely a qualitative leap. But, why, of all people, it had to be him? The lingering sandalwood fragrance and the man's familiar warmth enveloped her. Yiqing Luo was rather helpless. Even though this man had changed his face, she could still recognize him at one glance. Supreme Mo, Dmo Xian. Yiqing Luo was very curious. How did Dmo Xian conceal his identity, sneak into the headquarters and even become an evaluator? This is Late student Yi Qing Luo. Above her head came the man's leisurely and clear praise, mixed with a trace of faint smile. The Heavenly Academy has always been known for its good atmosphere. Students coming to the Heavenly Academy is not only to enhance their strength, but also to learn the best knowledge and the principles of life. He paused for a moment. It's the first day I came to the devil class and I already met a student who was late. This is the atmosphere of the Heavenly Academy? Yi Qing Luo stared furiously at him. Supreme Mo. Dmo Xian's long and narrow eyelids rose slightly as he released Yi Qing Luo's waist and said to himself, this late student Yi Qing Luo, in order to express my attitude as a teacher of the devil class. I must punish you, you can't blame me. Punishment? Emperor. Yi Qing Luo almost shouted out his name but quickly reacted as she pursed her lips and gritted her teeth. Mo. Supreme. Husband. Son. Dmo Xian drooped his eyelids. The smile on his face was gentle like the wind, but Yi Qing Luo could clearly see the teasing interest in his eyes. Yi Qing Luo was so angry that she secretly clenched her teeth, but she couldn't retaliate and teach him a lesson in public. That scoundrel Dmo Xian silently came to the Heavenly Academy, and the minute they met, he was already thinking of ways to tease her. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.